Movie mom Nell Minow says this film is extraordinarily vivid, rich, and wise about the core questions of how we know and who we are. Letterboxd user B Battersby2345 says Mason's Funeral Parlor crushed the product placement game with all those fans at the trial. And Letterboxd user Broody Allen says, I'm a simple man. I see Gene Kelly, I press like. On this episode of Ruined Childhoods, we decide the fate of Inherit the Wind.
Sequel. Reboot. Which one will it be? It's the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
Greetings, Starfighters. Welcome to Ruined Childhoods. I'm Don. I'm
Leaving that in.
I am.
We are collectively Don.
We are collectively Don. I am Dan. That is John.
And I am John. Right.
I was feeling so smooth. I'm like, I'm going to sound really professional on this intro.
Dan, I have a question for you. Do you have when you're starting each episode, when you're speaking into a microphone, anything like that, is there a radio personality? Is there somebody whose, I guess, style you like to kind of channel? I know that you start them all very differently, but, if there's something where you're not doing like a character, is there any kind of
Rick
inspiration?
D's on the American Weekly Top 40. No. Is there?
I was just wondering, is there some voice, a different podcaster, anybody that kind of, I don't know, speaks to you or speaks through you, maybe?
It's usually a different, because sometimes it depends on what we're going to be talking about. When it's Silence of the Lambs, I know it's going to be Anthony Hopkins, Hannibal Lecter.
Sure, yeah.
So when it's something, today's episode, Inherit the Wind, is, I feel it's different from our usual fare. And
yeah.
Not just the movie, not the movie. I mean, you made a reference, over the, since last we spoke, as you were watching Inherit the Wind, made a reference to it being quote unquote sweaty law, which is a callback.
Right.
I'm going to explain.
All I'm going to say is I don't typically talk to Dan about the movie that we're covering until we're recording, but just a note, sweaty law.
It was just because he knew I had seen it, and it's it takes place in over the summer. It takes place in July in Tennessee, pre-air conditioning. So yeah, it wasn't exactly giving away anything, but just so there was that callback to that A Time to Kill the Client, John Grisham episode that we did. Yeah. But so Inherit the Wind is different in its subject matter. It's different in what it discusses, what it addresses. I mean, this is not, it's not Feds. We're not talking about a throwaway comedy here. We're talking about something about a film based on a play that is about a real life. I know you'll get into that. That is about a true story, but is also really about other things going on.
I didn't include any of that in my synopsis that I wrote up. I kind of kept it very brief because the subtext is something that, doesn't belong in just the synopsis.
Oh, I thought you were keeping it brief for legal, because it's legal.
Because of legal brief. Yeah.
It's a brief. Get it? Because
in
law, attorneys, I want to make sure everyone understands it. When you file something, and it's called brief. You know where you keep
anyway.
Briefcase.
You're right. Okay, moving on.
Nothing brief about it. Yeah.
Nothing
No,
brief
anyway,
about
it's based on a
anything that
real
you
life
bring
case
up.
from 1925, where a teacher, John T. Scopes, was tried for teaching evolution in his high school science class that he was teaching. And so he was put on trial for that, and that's where we get it's called the Scopes monkey trial. And I think most people who only know of it through Inherit the Wind are like, why is it called the Scopes monkey trial? Well, that's because that was the name of the actual teacher, who in the film is Gates.
Cates with a C.
Cates. Yes.
Right. Why don't I do the synopsis?
Do the synopsis.
Okay. This is very short. I'm not going to say the B word again. I learned my lesson. After a school teacher begins teaching Darwin's theory of evolution, a group of right-wing Christians band together to have him arrested and tried in court. A reporter from Chicago takes a special interest in the case and arranges for Henry Drummond to represent the defendant. The prosecution, on the other hand, loops in presidential candidate and Christian fundamentalist Matthew Harrison Brady to serve on their legal team. What begins as a heavily weighted no-brainer for the prosecution turns into a battle of ethics once the defense uses Brady's only weapon against him, the Bible. That's what I got.
That's it. So let's run down the cast there. We got Spencer Tracy.
Yes, Spencer Tracy plays Henry Drummond, the attorney for the defense. Fredric March. The reason why we're doing this episode now is because we are doing movies that are ever so vaguely March themed. And so he is
There's
our
a connection
to March. Yeah, so he plays Matthew Harrison Brady, the presidential candidate who ends up serving as legal for the prosecution. We have Gene Kelly as E.K. Hornbeck of the Baltimore Herald. And then we've got Dick York from Bewitched as Bertram Cates. And I'm trying to think if there's anybody else who we need to
Harry
mention.
Morgan. Harry Morgan
is the judge.
Of Dragnet
Judge
and
Coffey.
Ski Patrol fame.
Right.
Or wait, no, not Ski Patrol. Sorry, I'm thinking of Ray Walston. Harry Morgan of MASH.
MASH.
Yeah, I was thinking of Ray Walston, not Harry Morgan. Harry Morgan's in Dragnet.
But Dragnet is right. Dragnet is correct. The
Yes.
series, not the movie.
Both. In fact, both. Yeah.
Oh, in both?
Yeah, he's in both. He's in both. Also in the film, familiar face, Norman Fell, Mr. Roper of
Norman Fell.
Three's Company. Also, pops up in the Graduate.
That's right.
So yeah, Claude Akins is the Claude Akins who was a big
it's
country
Reverend
singer,
Jeremiah Brown.
Yeah. Ooh, he is, and he's
he's
good
a piece
in
of
this.
work.
He is.
This is one of those. This is one of those movies, Dan, where I feel like the performances are so good and so convincing that you forget that in reality, they're probably doing this movie because they believe in evolution. It's a lot of times you just get so lost in the story and the performances that you forget that they're just actors portraying these people. Even if Fredric March's hair situation looks so ridiculous that it's hard to look away.
But it's entirely believable that his hair situation.
Oh, no. It just looks so crazy that it's just can't take my eyes off that weird hair choice.
But you're right. The performances in this are really captivating, and by everyone. I think Dick York was a real, because I'm just used to him. I'm like
Darren.
All I know him from is Darren from Bewitched.
Which Darren was he?
I think he was the first one.
I have no idea.
So there's Dick York and then Dick Sargent, and then we could go into
Sargent.
the whole Wayne's World thing about Sergeant York.
Sergeant York.
He was the first. So yeah, Dick York was the first Darren on Bewitched, but man, he is great in this.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I mean, he doesn't have like a huge role. I mean, it's a significant role, sure, but
it's featured enough so that if I was to watch turn on Bewitched, which let's see, starts in I guess mid to late 1960s, and I had seen Inherit the Wind, I would I mean, it's the guy from Inherit the Wind. It's the teacher from Inherit the Wind.
Right.
That's great. And I would have recognized him from that. I'm looking to see. Oh, Bewitched started in 1964.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, Dick York, big surprise in there. I mean, Gene Kelly, even though I feel like most people think of him as a singer dancer,
right.
like he definitely has, he definitely proved his acting chops.
Yeah, he was great.
Absolutely. He's great. Spencer Tracy.
Dan, I'm going to tell you a personal story. I don't know if I've ever spoken about this. This is an exclusive. I need like a sound drop for that. So,
no.
Okay. What do you mean?
Confessions.
No, this isn't like a confession. It's just like something that I had forgotten about. And then when I started watching this, I was like, oh my God, that's right. I don't know if you would remember this. I was probably like 9 or something like that, but I had like a pet frog that just like lived in a little like miniature, like a very small like aquarium thing. It was just an aquatic frog, really. And I named it Spencer because of Spencer Tracy. And I don't know why. I was going back through his like filmography to be like, is there something I saw that like I remembered him from when I was like 9? And I have no idea.
Yeah, no, you were such a Spencer Tracy fan growing up.
I thought you were going to say a strange child.
Well, it's an old soul, perhaps. Such a Spencer Tracy fan.
No
Spencer
idea.
Tracy posters, shirtless in one, I believe. And Spencer, and like I've definitely seen a few. I haven't seen a lot of Spencer Tracy movies. I've never named a frog after him, but I have no idea what association. And I have a vague recollection. Of this frog and of the name Spencer. I have no recollection of it being named after Spencer
I didn't
Tracy.
tell anybody.
I don't doubt you.
I didn't tell anybody why I had named it Spencer, but that's why
I wonder if you had just heard someone like talking about Spencer Tracy for some reason.
I honestly could not tell you. Could not tell you.
Okay, so mysteries of the past. Spencer Tracy is fantastic, and this is Henry Drummond, the lawyer for Bertram Cates. Yeah, and it's what I really enjoyed about it is the relationship between Drummond and Brady, like that. Even though they're rivals in the courtroom, and I think you see this. And this is true. This seems to be, true more often than not. But where these attorneys can really like go at each other in the courtroom, and they do go at each other. Right.
I mean, and you think about movies like My Cousin Vinny, where the two sides of that trial, even though they're going at each other, there's something about each of them that like there's a kind of respect. I mean, of course, towards the end, you definitely see the respect going towards Joe Pesci's character, in like in a very strange way, and
right. But the Lane Smith character is never like they're a little like city slicker,
right?
They're a bit like that. But the Lane Smith character, the district attorney, is never like mean to him. It's not like in some
No.
lawyer movies where you're just like, now that district attorney was willing to draw blood just to put you in jail.
Yeah.
So they're dirty. They're gonna play dirty. It's like, no, they're damn good at their job.
Right. Yeah. And what's really cool about Matthew Harrison Brady and Henry Drummond is that they so very clearly see why the other one is using the tactics that they're using. And, because Matthew Harrison Brady, he's just like, everybody loves him. That part of the country is his for the taking. And everybody's fawning over him. And he is just spouting his rhetoric, his, Christian fundamentalism, his creationism to them. And they are just eating it up and just cheering for him. And the way that Henry Drummond first just struggles and is feeling really down on himself and doubtful about his abilities to kind of bring this one home. And then the way that he turns things around, it's like really fascinating to watch. And I think that, Spencer Tracy, I mean, I knew this when I was 9, and I know this now. It's just like his acting is so convincing. And I want to say that, like, and this is just something that I was thinking about when I was watching it, is that, like, that an actor, especially around like 1960, like, that they are going to be something great when they look like Spencer Tracy, because he's, they don't, actors these days don't typically look like Spencer Tracy. Even like the older actors, even somebody like Ian McKellen is still going to look really sharp,
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's that class of actor that could just be like, you didn't have to be People magazine cover sexy.
No. Yeah.
I mean, you could be like
People
Spencer
magazine
Tracy
cover,
sexy.
that's an interesting one. Yeah.
It's not worth going into. It's just been a reference.
Stars, they're just like us. Here's Spencer Tracy buying adult undergarments.
But yeah, no, you're right. Like, there's a certain, like, there's Ian McKellen, then there's Spencer Tracy, who just for about 50 years looked like he just rolled out of bed and wasn't happy about it.
No kidding. Yeah, absolutely. That was kind of his MO.
But yet, like, he was a kind of a sex symbol, and he did have these romantic
well, he was
roles
with Katharine Hepburn
with
IRL
Katharine
for such a long time.
Well, yeah, and then also just a lot earlier in
By the
his
way,
career.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm the only person in history to ever say Katharine Hepburn IRL. I put money on that.
I don't know. I don't know.
How would you know?
Something. I don't. That's what I'm saying.
I'm just saying it's very likely.
It's possible.
Yeah.
So IRL, this was about teaching evolution, and it's like you said, Drummond's fighting an uphill battle here. He's fighting for creationism. He's basically arguing against the Bible in the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting to see the tactics that they take. And also, like, I thought your point about Brady just kind of repeating, like, he takes everything, and if he can twist it into some type of folksy, Christian, phrase, and it's kind of like if Drummond raises an objection, he says objection, he says, oh, like Pilate objected to Jesus Christ. And
I know.
And everyone goes, ooh, but I thought that they used that so well in the film, because at the climax, when Brady is standing there in front of the courtroom, just railing and he's like just doing all of his greatest hits and just ranting and raving and no one's listening. He's saying the same things he's been saying all along,
Right.
but everyone sees through it now.
Right.
And it's kind of like it's that message that, well, you can only tell this lie for so long until someone will come around and make people see the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Because the truth is going to the truth is the truth. It's the way it is, and it's going to be seen. It's going to come forth one way or the other. As someone who's been caught in many lies before, I know this to be true. So there's and what's cool about it is because I would say by 1960, I mean, I'm sure there's places in the country in 1960 where creationism is taught. There are places now where we have to have the alternative viewpoints. We have to acknowledge alternative viewpoints, which is why this is so relevant. And in 1960, my feeling watching it was like, this is about civil rights.
Mm.
And then other interpretations, and I think actually the intention was, it's about McCarthyism.
Right. Which is funny, Dan, because, dear audience, if you've been listening to this podcast for the past 3 years since we started, then you would know that Dan and I are quite fond of the movie Hail Caesar, and we were talking about it before recording. So just in case you're wondering if we are this way all the time, the answer is very much yes. And that movie, at its core, focuses heavily on, communism. And so it's very interesting that we're talking about Inherit the Wind, which, was, the intention was for it to reflect McCarthyism using the Scopes trial as kind of its, its cover.
Which I think it does well. I do think my go-to theater piece for McCarthyism allegory is The Crucible, of course. Mm-hmm. But I thought that in terms of civil rights and integration, I thought the idea of that progress is going to happen. Mm-hmm. That progress is going to happen, and fighting it is a futility, and fighting it will, in Brady's case, kill you.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
And to me, it was a lot about integration and saying like, so just like between 1925 and 1960, a lot more people accepted Darwin's theory of evolution, the origin of the species. Yeah. Not everyone, but probably a lot more than in 1925. So it's like saying, all right, someday we're going to be looking at this, at integration. That's going to be the next metaphor. That was optimistic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was overly optimistic, because that's still, even though like legal segregation is legal, racial segregation is, I guess, I don't want to say it's not a thing anymore, but not nearly what it was.
You're saying.
Yeah. We haven't made the progress from that. But then in watching this movie, I was so reminded, and it seemed so fresh. This movie felt so fresh to me, mm-hmm. because of how much it felt like the anti-mask and anti-vax movements, and God will protect me from COVID, and I don't need a vaccine when I have Jesus running through my veins. And I heard someone actually say that.
Oh my goodness.
That one. I've heard someone say that, or something very close to it. The whole coronavirus is a hoax and all that. And not just about COVID, but also the the use of religion to push political agenda.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And we see it time and
Oh
time
yeah, it's
again. And
not going away. It's not even subtle. It is very much in our faces, similarly to the way that, you see the people holding up their signs at the beginning of this movie, all of the
right,
protesters
yeah.
there. And I will also note the banner about Matthew Harrison Brady coming to town, and there's a march. It says the word march on it. And I was like, yay, our march theme.
All right. We doubled down on that one.
Yeah, I know that was just fortune in our favor. And so anyway, I feel like, yeah, I mean, when I was looking up reviews for this movie and I was going through Letterboxd, all everyone could talk about was how relevant this movie is. And you look at the years that they're posting it, and it's like, yeah, it's always going to be relevant because there's always going to be the push in a political agenda for religion.
And now, especially, I was gonna say, it's like you have laws, things like the Religious Freedom Act, which is really just, the right to use religion as an excuse to be a bigot act.
Right.
And you have all of these things being done in the name of religious freedom, something that should technically be a good thing. You have all of this new legislation coming forward about what teachers can teach in school.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt very relevant fortunately I teach in Seattle, where it's very, very, like, I'd be in trouble if I didn't teach what people call critical race theory. I mean, really, what I teach is just background context to literature. So, Raisin in the Sun is written partially about, like, redlining in Chicago. So you kind of have to teach what redlining is.
And you also deconstruct Pearl Jam lyrics, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, that's in our Shakespeare unit. What did Jeremy saith in class on the morrow? No. So that the quote unquote don't say gay law in Florida, fact that in school you can't even acknowledge the identities or existence of people. We're here to talk about Inherit the Wind, but
we are talking about Inherit the Wind.
We are, yes, but it is so relevant right now in terms of what we're facing in this country, this kind of this backlash, this censorship in the name of freedom, and so much like wordsmithing being done and so much propaganda being done to push an agenda. And you do get the feeling from this as well that there's an agenda and that Brady maybe is less interested. Like the Bible is a good act for him. It's a good gimmick for him. Right. It's not what he really he's in it for the publicity, the politics, the position, the fame. I think he could just as easily argue the other side. Whereas I don't know if the same would be true for Drummond. I am sure he could, but he would do it, holding his nose.
Well, Drummond has no agenda.
Right.
Yeah, Drummond is there to do his job and do it really damn well. And inspire frog names around the world for generations to come. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like this movie was one that I don't remember if I had seen it before, but watching it the other day, I kind of started it and was like drifting off, but like it really grabbed me really quickly. And I feel like a lot of the credit for that should go to Stanley Kramer, the director. It's a beautifully made movie. He also did Judgment at Nuremberg. It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? And it's I don't know. There was something about it that was kind of fun and funny and playful. And there was part of me that was also watching it in kind of, I don't know, paying closer attention to the actors and looking at like sorry, I was gonna say Sergeant York because of the Wayne's World thing, but Dick York, and just thinking like wow, he's so like young, and just like kind of just noticing things about the actors in it, and the I don't know, the way that this town was crafted, the town of Hillsborough, I believe,
Yeah.
and it was just like a really solid movie with so much going on. There was this whole subplot thing going on with Cates's wife, who's or
His girlfriend.
his girlfriend,
Or
whose
fiance,
father
I
is
guess.
his fiance, whose father is the Reverend. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Real
Right.
hellfire and brimstone type.
So she's like, you gotta drop this whole, like, you just have to, whatever, like, for the sake of us. And I don't know. So it's like there's that whole other subplot going on, which, I mean, I think as much as I'm just like, oh boy, there's like more going on, it's kind of like, well, I guess you need something else to happen aside from just like this one plot.
Yeah, well, and it also it leads into a lot. It leads into a lot because you see Brady kind of like stand up. If I remember correctly, Brady does kind of like stand up a bit
He
to
does
the
stand
father
up?
and just like what
He does stand up.
He does stand. Yeah,
He does a take five
No,
at the store.
yeah, he kills. Unfortunately, just himself.
Mitzi let him on the main stage.
Yeah, I mean, he was gonna do 20, but then Chappelle came in,
Yeah,
and
what are you gonna do? It's Chappelle.
When Chappelle drops in, he's gonna take the mic. And,
Sorry, Brady.
yeah.
Okay, so
All
go
right.
on. Brady stands up.
Sorry, Brady. Brady thought he had a spot, but it was Wayne Brady.
We all make that mistake.
Yeah, but I think like you see that there's everyone, because the preacher is just like, oh, what if you're a harlot, and I didn't get the actual quotes down, but like he's really harsh that even the other people arguing on the same side as him are like, dude, you gotta chill a little
Right.
bit.
Yeah.
Loosen that collar up a little.
I'm thinking about the movie, and I'm thinking about, because I feel like, does it start off in the classroom? No, it starts off when the group of the conservatives are kind of meeting up to go in and take the teacher down. So there's like this whole sinister thing going on, everybody kind of banding together to.
They're just waiting in his classroom for him to do it.
Oh, it's intense. It's really intense.
It is intense.
Yeah,
it is intense. And when you see him with the diagram of like, with Darwin's Origin of the Species, and you're just like, oh no.
Yeah. It's like, here we go.
Don't do it, Darren.
Yeah,
But,
Darren.
He
Yeah,
does it. He stands by it.
That's true. Yeah. And so, I mean, this was a play before it was a movie. I don't know when the play was written. I can look into that.
55.
Okay, so not too long before. And then we have this in 1960. We have a few made-for-TV versions in 65, 88, and 99. Some of them I'm actually curious to see. Like the one with 88 is with Jason Robards and Kirk Douglas. And what were you going to say?
The 99 one is George C. Scott and Jack Lemmon.
Yeah, totally. The 65 version is with Ed Begley, OG, not JR. And
oh man, it just makes me it makes me think about Ides of March and a Philip Seymour Hoffman, Paul Giamatti Inherit the Wind that we'll never get.
Okay. Yeah, see, I was thinking the same thing. And then I was just like, which one would be which? I mean, I could see it also being one of those things like, you know how sometimes there's like a stage drama where there's like two leads and then you find
Yeah.
out that like every night they switch roles.
Well,
Like,
which Philip Seymour Hoffman did with John C. Reilly when they did
Oh.
True West.
that's right. That's right. That's right. Oh my God. See, that's perfect. I mean, in a different dimension where we still have the wonderful Philip Seymour Hoffman, the
Oh,
Philip Seymour
God.
Hoffman, Paul
I wanna
Giamatti
live-
would be
I want that.
would be great.
I
Yeah,
want that
because
timeline.
I would love to see them, and I'd love to see them both in like swapping parts because I can't decide which one I would want in which. So anyway.
Right. I think I feel like I originally defaulted to Giamatti as Brady, but now the more I think about it, I'm like, I maybe see him more as Drummond, but
Right.
I want to see them both do it.
I know.
I want to see both of them do both. There are so many actors who are, and this isn't like necessarily what this has nothing to do with
No.
my ideas for it, but like I think about Willem Dafoe, and I'm just like, I'm basically right now looking at Willem Dafoe's filmography and thinking, what has he not done? What I don't think I've seen him as a lawyer.
Well, okay. What you could also do, that's a good question. He's got such an extensive filmography. It's hard to.
I don't think I've
Yeah.
seen him as a lawyer. He's probably played one.
But you know what? I like to think about, and when you say Willem Dafoe, it makes me think more about this. But like, you know, movies or I guess like actor pairings that are so dynamic in one particular movie where you just want to see them doing other movies in you know where the two of them are facing off. And when you say Willem Dafoe, it makes me think a lot of Robert Pattinson, like the way that he and Robert Pattinson were in The Lighthouse, and then to see Robert Pattinson play the Brady role and Willem Dafoe play the Drummond role, like, or vice versa.
Would be a very young.
So what?
It would be. It would be. It would be interesting. Well, I don't know why you couldn't. I don't see why you couldn't.
Yeah, the young
trying to think of-
hotshot Christian fundamentalist, you know, presidential candidate versus like the old timer seasoned attorney.
Madison Cawthorn versus Bernie.
Yeah, so
Basically.
I don't know. I think that there's something that's fun about finding those actor pairings. I mean,
What are some
Ryan
other-
Gosling
what are
and George Clooney, if we're gonna go there.
Ryan Gosling and George
Matt
Clooney.
Damon,
I'm
Ben
trying to think, is
Affleck.
it some other Matt Damon, Ben. Yeah, I don't know that I want to see them doing it.
I'm not saying I want to see it, but I'm just saying, like, you know, it would be interesting to see that.
To see, yeah, the other actor pairings. You know, I'm trying to think of some other ones that I think we like you got them all. Every other
Zac
one I think
Efron, Robert De Niro, go Dirty Grandpa.
of course. I mean, that's the
Everyone's
repairing that
favorite.
everyone's been waiting for.
Yeah.
Of course. No, but De Niro, Pacino, I do feel like I'm like it might be a bit too. I'm not
Grumpy
saying that
old
they
man.
always have to play it. That you know, I want to see the De Niro Pacino grumpy old man.
Did that come up when
Yeah.
we did Grumpy Old Men?
It must have.
Well,
It would
might have
just
to go
be
back to
it
the
would be
archives.
such the R-rated grumpy old one. Good morning, you fucking cocksucker. Good morning, you piece of shit motherfucker. Like Harvey Keitel. Put Harvey Keitel in there. Well, Harvey Keitel in Inherit the Wind.
Sure.
Nah, I feel like that's just naming actors now.
Yeah. No, but you know, it's a fun game to play. You know, this is just
Woody
one of those
Harrelson,
movies.
Wesley Snipes.
Woody Harrelson, Wesley Snipes. I don't think that you could set something in 1960.
You know,
Yeah.
I was saying that, but like Woody Harrelson, Matthew McConaughey.
That's true. Yeah, always like them together.
So, yeah,
And then
true.
you get Matthew McConaughey returning to Sweaty Law.
Jackpot. There, and Oliver Platt is the reporter.
Oh my God, he totally would be. Love it.
He would have
Love
been. I mean, back in the 90s, yeah, he would have been great. There've also been several Broadway revivals of
Sure.
Inherit the Wind. None of which I've seen. I don't recall that I've ever seen it on stage, and I remember like that we read it in school, like in high school. So I feel like I must have seen the movie, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember reading that in high school, he said in quotes.
I feel like it was something that we read like in class and like we performed parts.
Mm.
So
Yeah, it's one that I definitely remember being like a presence throughout my life. I mean, clearly Spencer Tracy's impact on my childhood was strong. So, you know,
indubitably.
yeah. No, and
Yeah, so
and I really loved seeing Gene Kelly doing his actual acting, which was
he's very good.
he's very good.
I enjoy he was really good for the like comic relief.
Sure. I don't even know if I'd call it the comic relief, but just like
no,
to
but he's
lighten
just like the levity.
exactly.
He brings a bit of levity, and he's got that just very likable spirit. Oh, good. Oh, it's Gene Kelly. Things aren't so bad in the world.
So okay, so if you're not gonna just do a Philip Seymour Hoffman, Paul Giamatti dream team in a parallel universe matchup, what would you envision for doing this now?
So I struggled with whether or not to advocate for just like a straight up remake or revival of it. And yes, if Philip Seymour Hoffman was still with us, I would definitely advocate for Philip Seymour Hoffman, Paul Giamatti, or really I don't have any actors specifically that I'm like, yes, it should be remade with these actors. I struggled with whether or not to advocate for a like an updated Inherit the Wind, a version of Inherit the Wind.
Mm-hmm.
It's something to be set in modern times. Maybe it's somebody, a teacher who's arrested for teaching about systemic racism, and they get reported by a student. I was thinking about that, and then I just felt it works so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
As it is, that why it doesn't have to be about whatever's going on today to be about whatever's going on today.
Mm-hmm.
So a film might be, I wonder, like it's the type of thing where maybe a filmed stage production, kind of like the Hamilton,
Right. Yeah.
On Disney, or some type of special presentation. Like this would be great to do. Like they do all of these, like live and Grease live and tune in.
Everyone's clamoring for an Inherit the Wind live.
Selena Gomez as Matthew Harrison Brady. Steve Martin and Martin Short.
Hey, that would be a really great pairing. But if they played it completely straight.
Well, I mean, they could.
Yeah.
They could. I mean, they've both done like straight acting.
Sure. Yeah.
So but I think like doing it like that, you could make it. I wish we were back in the days of like the telethon, where if it was like this big live event, and it was, donate to the, the ACLU, or donate to the NAACP, or, so I think something like that, some type of live like production, or I feel like a remade film would just kind of get swept under the carpet.
Yeah.
So I hesitate to say, oh, like just remake it, or just like put another revival on Broadway. I don't think that's needed, but I think that and by the way, the case happened in 1925, so we're not that far off from the 100-year anniversary.
True.
So I don't think it would be uncalled for to, promote, and you can get there are so many great actors who could do Campbell Scott.
Okay.
Playing actually George C. Scott played both roles in different productions, but Campbell Scott could that would be nice, fill in for his dad.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm like I could start naming. I'm just look up male actors.
Yeah.
And find find two actors who would play really well off of each other in this. And you know what? Yeah, I mean, whoever, get whoever in it. Maybe get Clooney involved. Why does it Clooney could direct it?
Clooney could direct it.
This does not seem like a something out of his wheelhouse.
No, definitely in his wheelhouse.
So, yeah, I think it's a relevant story, and I think it needs to be brought back into the spotlight every now and again, just to kind of remind us that hey, people are always scared of new and challenging ideas. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. It doesn't mean they don't exist. And it doesn't mean that we don't accept them.
Right.
So that's my thoughts on that. What are yours?
Well, this movie is a true classic. The play is taught in schools and, brought back all of the time. It's a very relevant story, as we've talked about. And I think it would be really neat to start a new movie and kind of use the actual footage and then have it go in a different direction. Have it follow the students in Kate's class, or have it follow somebody who's sitting in on the trial. Maybe it is the same, students that are in his class. Follow somebody else, follow the judge, and see kind of how they change while Drummond is kind of changing their worldview, and try to experience something through somebody who's not directly part of the trial, unless it's the judge, of course. But, kind of take them and follow them during this entire time. You can still hear or see that this trial is going on, but from a different perspective. And and hear what they say when they're home talking to their families and what they're experiencing on their ends. That's my thought.
I really like the idea of the students because it's about what's taught in schools, and we hear from everybody. We hear from the students briefly.
Hardly.
But
we just get a glimpse of the little men and the little women, and then we cut away from them, and we don't really hear from them ever again.
Yeah, no, we do get a little glimpse of them. And it would be interesting it makes me think of the movie In and Out, where you do get some of the perspective of the students as they're learning about their teacher coming out. It's funny because now that I think about In and Out, it does have a lot in common with Inherit the Wind in terms of progress, resisting progress, and accepting new ideas, and even if they're challenging, and
an engaged couple going through a tumultuous time.
Yeah, exactly, right. And Wilford Brimley is in it, so he has that Spencer Tracy vibe.
It sure does.
It is. I really like that idea, and I also like the idea of kind of of seeing where they go after.
Yeah.
And saying all right, now that they're challenged on like, how are they impacted by
Well,
learning
also,
that?
yeah, also it's, maybe the kids' parents are less flexible in their ways of thinking.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying is like, what happens to these kids when everything that they've grown up believing is not everything, but like this that they've grown up believing was fundamentally true is challenged and basically disproven. So how does that impact their relationships with their parents? Like, are their parents like, oh my God, like what now?
Yeah.
What are we going to do? We're going to lose control. And it would be interesting to look at that also in terms of like the last in the 1920s, kind of leading up to the stock market crash in 29.
Yeah.
So looking at just the idea of like young people and how all of this revolutionary science meshes with religious beliefs, which especially in Tennessee,
Right.
were
And
much.
and also, there are the parallels to today that, are different from the ones that we see in Inherit the Wind, where it is, the youth of today learning something different from what their parents believe very firmly and having to negotiate that struggle between, keeping the peace within the family and standing up for what you believe in and kind of challenging the status quo.
Yeah, I think it would
We
work
begin shooting
perfectly.
on Friday, and call time is 5:30 a.m. So get your rest.
I can't make it. I have a thing.
Mm,
Yeah.
your Pearl Jam
Would it,
class
it could be. Yeah. No.
starts at 7.
I mean, yeah, we're doing the ratio of no code, so uh yeah.
They have their
see,
vitology exam.
that's just the name of the class, Vitology. Vitology 101.
Oh, it's only a
And
101 class. They can skip it. It's fine.
there was somewhere where oh yeah, the title of your sequel, I guess instead of Inherit the Wind, would it be called like Heirs of the Wind? Because I like that title.
Acknowledging the wind.
Acknowledging
Passing the wind.
the wind,
Breaking the wind.
winds of change.
Yeah, and then you can use that awesome Scorpion song.
That Scorpion song, definitely like a 1920s version of it.
Oh, I want to hear that.
Pay me. I don't know. That's just how it was in my.
There's
in my
a fantastic
the Winds of
podcast
Change,
series
Winds of Change,
about Wind of Change. That it's kind of going into the backstory of it, because there was a rumor that song was was written by the CIA and essentially given to Scorpions to release to impact the Cold War and to like bring the wall down and inspire revolt. So it's a really fascinating podcast series that I highly recommend. I think it's just called Wind of Change.
Oh, that is really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my kind of jam right there. So anyway, Dan, do you have anything that you wanted to mention about Inherit the Wind before we talk about what we're doing on our next episode?
No, other than just if this is not a film that you've seen before or not something you're familiar with, definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Inherit the Wind, currently streaming on Prime, and I believe as of last I checked it was, but totally worth checking out. And yeah, if you have a history with that, with Inherit the Wind or creationism or Darwinism, give us an email at ruinedchildhoodspod@gmail.com.
Yeah, check out the link to the link tree in this episode's description follow us on social media and all that kind of fun stuff, you get to see probably a cool picture of Spencer Tracy, the human, not the frog.
It's a shame though that I don't think we have photos of the frog.
I don't think the frog lived long enough for a photograph to have been taken.
be photographed. Yes.
And this is also the times where, we didn't have cameras on us all the time.
No, you had to go to where you kept your camera and get your camera out, and you had to make sure there was film in it.
Yeah, you had to hope that Spencer was doing something cute at the moment.
Yeah, no, by the time you get your
frog.
camera and put film in it, Spencer is no more.
No, I don't.
There's not a Tracy of him left. Yeah, that's how you know it's late.
Boy. Well, anyway, Dan, why don't we tell everyone what we're doing on the next episode?
It's our last episode of March. So, of course, as we're leaving March, we have to get one last dose of March. In fact, a whole family of March. So we're going to be talking about Little Women.
That's right. We're going to be talking about multiple families of March because Dan and I are going to each focus on a different version of Little Women.
This is our version of March Madness. This is March Madness for us. It's like, it's Susan Sarandon and Laura Dern and Saoirse Ronan and Winona Ryder
Bob
and
Odenkirk?
Timothy Chalamet. Bob Odenkirk. Oh, I missed my Little Women.
Tracy
and what's
Letts?
happening? And I think Katharine Hepburn is in another one.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And maybe Spencer Tracy.
Oh, could that be true?
Tracy Letts.
Oh,
We
Dick
didn't
Sargent,
start
Sergeant
the
York.
fire. Dick Sergeant York. I can't take it anymore.
Well, Dan, as you are marching in support of Matthew Harrison Brady, I wish you a good journey.
Good evolutionary journey.